the Stockholm Syndrome for worldwide dating. Today we discuss if you are a single man listening to this, and today we are going to discuss a particular phenomena that happens to every man, including myself, regarding dating abroad. Because let me explain what's the experience of dating abroad when you go to the right market, and there are a bunch of dating markets. The right dating markets depend on your particular profile, and this is something that you have to analyze. And most men, especially in Western countries, they don't know this because of course, they struggle since that they are on terrible markets. Usually, they are very good prospects for several different markets in the world, but not on their home market. I'm talking, let's say, if you are born and raised in New York or Miami or London or a place like that. You know what I mean. Very well. Now, what happens is that since you never had an excellent feedback from your home market, you think that when you go abroad, you're still, a little bit scared. You're kind of like a deer, without his mom, like Bambi, something like that. I've seen many cases. And by the way, nothing to be ashamed of. I've been myself, and I'm going to explain my particular situation in order to, paint a picture on how it happens and also how it can be solved. That's the fun part. Okay, I'm going to talk just on my particular experience. Well, I'm a Latino, so thanks to that, I've been, let's say, blessed of growing up on a actually very good dating market. Still with a bunch of, issues and struggles to deal with. Anyway, but still, compared to the worldwide dating market spheres, I think I got the long end of the stick. Very cool on that. However, here's the issue. Since I'm a Latino, so I'm surrounded with, throughout my life, especially when I was younger, with beautiful Latinas. I mean, it's not like, it's this particular paradise or something like that, but, the quantity of, cute women, cute Latina women was, let's say, it was not scarce. Let's put it like this. However, here is the caveat. On my particular preference, I used to like more, let's say, more European look. Let's put it like this. More of an European that compared to the typical the Latina cliché look that you might think. That, by the way, I also like the Latina look. I'm not saying that's not my preference, but I tend to prefer more European. Well, what happens is the Europeans usually, of course, more Caucasian, more blonde, green eyes or blue eyes. So the particular type that I'm referring to. So what happens is that throughout my teenage years and my early 20s, what happens is that in Latin America, that particular kind, it does exist, but is scarce. I'm talking the Latinas with that look. I'm not talking about Europeans that come here as digital nomads. That's a completely different ballgame. Well, anyways, what happens is that they are scarce like 5%, 10% tops. And what happens, and even in my country, we have a bunch of European looking descendants. So what happens is that usually my Pavlovian response to one of these ladies is that usually these ladies are kind of, have a particular attitude. They are too cool for school. They have what is known as the resting bitch face. Yeah. I mean, just for the sake of the conversation, we're just having fun here. Well, anyways, have this particular, attitude. And, my Pavlovian response, my Stockholm syndrome is that, okay, I'm going to stick with the, the Latina looking Latinas. Pardon me for repeating myself. But the blondes, okay, these girls think they are too cool for school, you need to be rich or handsome or something like that in order to date such, the European looking Latinos. Very good. That was my mindset back then. And actually still is today. Here's the caveat. Then on my, let's say, late teens and early 20s, I start traveling a lot to the United States. And I went to Canada a couple of times. Yeah. So I start meeting, on these particular countries, blonde women, blonde Caucasian women are way more abundant. And my experience, of course, also you have a lot of overweight women with this particular description. But even then, in Latin America, overweight blonde women do excellent. There is a market for that. Just say. But anyways, start going to the US and Canada, places like that. And it was a 50-50 shot. Either she's very, very polite, or she's also, the resting bitch face. Anyways, but still, I like those odds. It's a 50-50 shot. Very well. Now, on my, let's say, early 20s, is when I started to mingle more with Eastern European women and Central European women. That's actually the first time I visited Europe was on my 20s. I start mingling I'm talking just on random circumstances like in a coffee shop or a line or something like that, on the street. I mean, it's not like dating, hitting up, something like that. But I start dealing with these women. And the first time that I do it, the first 2 or 3 times with the Eastern European women, what happened was that, hi, look, can you give me the hour or can you borrow me a pen or something like that? Something, very basic. And she, hi, how are you? I'm very, hi, of course, here's my pen, of course, is. And I was like, damn. And start happening, consecutively and on a streak. And I start saying, okay, I didn't know this. I thought that all European looking women were, too cool for school or too, just for the sake of the conversation, bitchy. But then I find out that is not the case. It's only in Latin America where they are scarce, and in the US because there is too much demand and the supply is not enough. Very cool on that. Now let's go with you, Western men, if you're watching this. Let's say you have a particular preference for Latinas, but I'm very, very hot Latinas, Kardashian-looking Latinas. That, of course, I know the Kardashians are not Latinas, but just, please bear with me. You know what I mean? These very hot Latina women that you see on Instagram, in South Beach, on the nightclubs, and they are the VIP bottle server, waitress and things like that. Okay, so you know what I'm speaking. I'm talking the high-end Latinas. Very cool on that. Or let's say you like Asians, similar thing. So what will happen is that in your home country, or even let's say, for instance, in a city outside Miami, that in Miami they are more abundant, but in other places like in Western Europe, they are not as abundant. I'm talking, the very beautiful Latinas. Anyways, and also depends on the city in Europe, of course. Well, what happens is that you have this Pavlovian response because I'm seeing it. First my own experience with Eastern European women, and the Pavlovian response is that right now maybe you only see them on the nightclub, on social media, places like that. However, you need to train yourself when you go abroad. That I'm not saying, of course, it's not gonna be easy, but it's gonna be possible if you put the work and you put let's say the learning curve. That's a different proposition. So something that will happen is that you will get an ease dealing with them. The first one, then the second one. So you are not gonna create this, this subconscious relationship between hot Latinas that you might say if you are, pop from Kansas. Oh, hot Latinas. They only mingle with rich guys and athletes and billionaires and things like that. No. If you do the work, you can date a Latina. Just, of course, it's not like it's gonna be, just said and done. But if you put, the knowledge, a couple of hours, I'm not saying that you have to be a millionaire or you have to be a superstar or anything like that, but you need, let's say, a certain know-how on how to deal with it. And of course, there is also an experience, a learning curve. And that's the beauty when you change from one market to the other, a market that is not favorable to you, to a market where the odds are going to improve significantly. Same thing depending on your preference. Could be an Asian, same thing. You can go, there are several countries on that. Asia is not my area of expertise, but I've seen many cases. I mean, you see them on Thailand and Philippines and Vietnam, places like that. And also the old stories from World War II where the US veterans staying in Japan and marrying a Japanese or a Filipina. Cool on that. Beautiful stories, by the way. But anyways, the main point is that depending on your particular case and on your particular preference, but also on your particular profile, what do you bring to the table? What do you provide value? That you might say that I don't provide value because I'm doing bad here I'm not doing as great on my home country, but actually you always have a couple of things that work around, and if you apply it on a different market, you're gonna get great results, and you are going to overcome this Stockholm syndrome that you suffer before you go offshore. Thank you for watching Continental Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. And if you want to work with us, continentalinsider.com. Thanks again, and have a nice day.